We'd like to welcome everyone live to round one of the 2012 Afterburn IndyCar Series from Homestead Miami Speedway. Qualifying just taking place at the moment. So welcome to round one of 34 of the Team Afterburn IndyCar Series for 2012. My name is Will Vincent. Unfortunately, my co-commentator couldn't make it today, but I know Yoni will be about as and when I need him. Car's currently on track on this beautiful 1.5 mile oval, 180 degree corners. And the banking here is between 18 and 20 degrees on the corners and 3 degrees on the straightaway. So to give you a heads up of the drivers running in the field today, we've got everyone from last season's overall champion Yves Warner from Switzerland. We've also got the road champion from last year, Nico Brandt. A couple of new faces as well, Tim Don and Young O making their charge into the series. Also a number of other drivers, Julian Pham, UC Nimmerman, Jason Hyatt, all new to the series, as well as a couple of old favourites as well. Just keeping an eye on qualifying, the number 11 of Tim Doyle is currently setting the pace at a 24.773. He's just completed his lap. Young O just set to time 2/1000ths of a second slower. So as it stands at the moment, Doyle and O will be bringing the field to the green flag from row number one. These two drivers do work very close together quite often in these IndyCars. So we've still got about 6 minutes left of qualifying as we're looking at the number 72 of Mike Larson in that Carlsberg Team Afterburn machine. We'll be going 200 laps a day of this beautiful racetrack. Couple of rules that are different to the iRacing official series. Single file restart to all drivers. So you'll notice a lot of strategy come into play as we get onto these restarts. And this track is very interesting. You can run the low line the entire way around. However, you can also see drivers trying to make moves on the high side. It's not as difficult to pass as a couple of other 1.5 mile tracks. As you can see, Mike Larson just building up speed, working his third of 4 qualifying laps. So this one that we're going to be seeing now will be his money lap. As he brings the car down into turn number 1, tries and get it as close to the bottom as possible, but you don't want to try and get yourself on the seams too much, as Mike did there, losing a little bit of speed. But he's going to bring the car down into 3 there, hold it low again. Turn 3 is a lot easier on the cars. He drifts it up a little bit, brings it back down as he comes down towards start-finish line, looking for where Mike Larson gets his time. 7.94, so that's going to put him 4th overall on the grid at the moment, alongside his Afterburn teammate in the number 88, Yves Warner, who's, defending series champion and also oval champion from last season. He set a 7.87 to get himself currently to provisional 3rd. So it looks as though all drivers have completed their qualifying times now. To run through the grid momentarily, Tim Doyle sets the pole position with a 24.773, lining up alongside him. Young O in the number 28 machine, a 24.775. Yves Warner will be lining up 3rd, 24.787, alongside him, Mike Larson. Row number 3 will be Mark Warmington on the inside, Ryan Norton on the outside. Row number 4, John Goke and Nico Brandt, the road champion from last season. John Ailes and Andrew Aitken line up in row number 5. Matthew Lambertson and Giorgio Ponti, new driver to the series in the 00, lining up on row 6. In row number 7, you have Dan Liench and Randy Crosno. Row number 8, GC Nimanen and Dave Jinks. Dave Jinks was our veteran racer from last year, attended every single race and put in a sterling effort to get 3rd overall in the Road Championship, I believe. Julian Pham and Jason Hyatt line up on row number... line up on row number 9. Row 10, Mark Fangman, new driver to the series, and Carson Borchers. Ryan Wells and Robert Carlson, row 11. Shane Doherty and Steve Clays in row number 12. And row 13, Doyle Johnson and Renee Murray. And we were expecting to get a little bit, have a word with Yves Warner, our previous series champion. However, it seems as though he's having a little bit of difficulties getting in. So we'll try and get back to him in the caution if he manages to finally make a connection. But as I say, Yves last year did a sterling effort to take the overall championship, was involved in the final race in Michigan on the last lap, battling for the lead with myself, to be fair. A fine battle with myself even coming to turn 1 and causing a multi-car accident on the last lap as Yves is going for his 4th win of the season. So really looking forward to see how Yves and a couple of these other drivers do this time around. As the pace car rolls out onto the grid, drivers will be keeping it single file on the inside or bring it up onto the track. And Yoni, it looks as though your front row of Yang and Tim haven't taken the grid.
Yeah, that's an interesting choice. Having a pole position and then giving it to someone else for free. I mean, it's not Easter, is it?
So that will promote Yves Warner in the number 88 to provisional pole position. He'll be lining up behind the pace car.
It'll be interesting to see what went on with these two guys. I mean, did it just take a bathroom break too long, or what?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. We'll try and get post-race interviews later on to see whether they just wanted to start from the back or whether or not they just missed the start themselves. But meanwhile, Yves Warner will bring the field to the green flag. 26 drivers to make up round 1 of the 2012 Afterburn IndyCar Series, live here all season long on Glacier TV. Green flag in the air. We're racing here at Homestead.
Yeah, and 200 laps in the race. I'm pretty sure Yang O and Tim Doyle will not stay in the back for quite that long. But they will need a early caution just to catch the pack because they're way behind.
Two wide racing all the way through the field at the moment. Just looking at Jason Hyatt making a move for 17th position on UC Newman. But out front, Yves Warner's got himself immediately to a 6-car length advantage from Mark Warmington. Mike Larson tucking in 3rd position. Jonathan Goke in 4th. Ryan Norton rounds out your top 5.
Yeah, Jonathan Goke with a blistering opening lap, 27.2, catches a 3/10 off from Yves Matter and Mark Warmington in the first lap.
Looks as though the field starting to spread out a little bit as John Ailes is being overtaken by Nico Brandt. Nico to the outside, inside even, as they come out of turn number 4 to complete lap 2. Yeah, meanwhile, it looks as though, Mark and Mike... Oh, sorry, Nico Brandt almost loses it there down into turn 1. As I was just saying, there was Mike Larson and Mark Warmington trying to work still too wide to go into turn 3.
Yeah, Nico Brandt is literally a dark horse in my opinion because I can't see him in my score sheet. That's an interesting thing.
So Nico currently now down to the 8th position, really having to work that car in these first couple of laps. 3 wide as they come off turn 2, being split by down the entry on the inside, and I believe that is Giorgio Ponti on the outside as they come down into 3 again, completing lap 4. but it does look as though Nico's having a ton of trouble in these opening laps.
I mean, meanwhile, Matthew Lambertson was a while, one lap ago, was the 10th position and has climbed himself back up to 6th now. Was 7th last lap, so Matthew is on the charge.
Yeah, Matthew Lambertson, always a determined driver. Seen great things of him throughout last season's IndyCar season. Always charging hard. Had a number of connection issues last year, but it looks as though these are going to get sorted out as they go too wide again out front. Mike Larson being pushed almost all the way to the wall there by Mark Warmington as they come out of turn 2. But it looks as though they got themselves single file. But Yoni, as these guys continue to race each other, that's going to allow Matt to catch back up to the lead pack.
Yeah, it's well, I haven't had that much experience personally with the IndyCars, racing with IndyCars in ovals especially, but interesting to see this much fighting going on in the early stages of the race, especially since I've heard from Marko Viitanen, who was one of the Team Afterburn guys. He mentioned that in the fast speedways, you tend to win time by just sticking into somebody's draft and saving fuel, and these guys are not doing that at the moment.
Yeah, and for Yves Warner, he likes leading races, but at the same time, if you get him, if you're in front of him, be very, very careful. So many races that Yves just literally sat behind someone for 10, 15 laps, saved himself a lap of fuel, and be able to make the advantage happen for him. But Homestead's pretty unique. There's 3 distinct driving lines that you can run on this racetrack. The inside isn't always the optimal line, especially coming into the latter stage of a fuel run. The middle line does seem to be better, and you can work all the way up on the high side by that beautiful teal wall. But at the same time, you've got to be very careful as these drivers go 2 and 3 wide here.
Currently on board with number 26 car, it's number 72 car, Mike Larson, who currently is screen shows 4th at the moment, but I'm seeing it in 3rd place at the moment. My scoring probably have to reboot my scoring a little bit here.
Yeah, Mike Larson is currently sat in the 3rd position, being hunted down by Ryan Norton in 4th, but also putting a lot of pressure on Jonathan Goke. You see Ryan Norton coming down to the insides, coming to turn 3. Ryan looks as though he's going to see if he can get the position done. They're going to be 2 wide to come out, and this is what you see on the outside lane. If you can get a good run on the exit of the corner, you can force that driver to the inside for a number of laps, and that is where you can try and gain an advantage. But it looks as though for the meantime, again, as they come out the corner, might get such a good advantage over Norton in that number 26 machine, and 2 wide again as they're going to turn 3.
Yeah, now my personal scoring system should be rebooted, so no harm done here, but sorry for seeing the gridding there for a while. We've been on the 12th lap and still scoring was thinking that, hey, this is probably 200 miles an hour gridding. Well, fixed now.
So out front, Yves Warner is your leader in the number 88 Team Afterburn machine. Jonathan Goke currently riding in 2nd in the 08 car. Ryan Norton charging him down in 3rd position. Mike Larson 4th. Mark Warmington 5th. And I believe that Mark Warmington make a pass on Matt Lambertson in that last lap to get 4th position. So Matt's now down into 5th. And meanwhile, Mike Larson has dropped down into the 6th position. Good battles going on in the midfield as well. It looks like they got themselves spread out just a little bit. But John Ailes, Andrew, is caught up to this train with Mike Larson at the rear of it. So he's going to see if we can put some pressure on these drivers now. He's been cruising around, not really making too much of a fuss, but he's been able to save his tyres as this race rolls on. It looks like he might be able to make a bit of a charge.
Yeah, meanwhile, Nico Brandt has given another position to 76 car Dave Jinks. So Dave is up in the 10th and Nico Brandt back down into 11th.
Nico Brandt trying to look to the high side, seeing if he can make a move on Danley Ench. Currently this is about for 9th position. He looks as though he's not going to get down to the inside quite yet. Going to have to keep it running that 2nd groove. You see drivers will run that 2nd groove unless they really are defending. And it looks as though Nico's car, if he can get up to someone, it's easy enough. But once he's there, he finds it very difficult to try and make a move.
Yeah, meanwhile, we got a new leader. Yves Warner takes a lead lap back from Jonathan Goke. Jonathan was the last lap's leader, and now Yves Warner is... the other way around. Jonathan Goke takes the lead from Yves Warner, so new leader compared to last lap.
So Jonathan Goke in the 08 AeroX racing machine takes the lead from Yves Warner, working lap 16 of 200 at Homestead Miami Speedway. furious pace so far in this race, being on green the entire way, which has been really good for all but Tim Doyle and Young O, who started from pit lane. But I tell you what, these guys are catching 24th of Shane Doherty at a rate of about 2-3 seconds a lap, 2-3 tenths of a second a lap. So don't count Doyle and Young out, as they're working literally nose to tail trying to get their way back into this race.
Yeah, currently this duo is in the pictures, and they're going all at it. I mean, last lap 24.901, Young O did a 24.897. Meanwhile, Shane Doherty in front of him did a 25.175. So almost a 3/10 a lap, catching up the pack out front of him.
Out front, Matthew Lambertson's now got himself into the 4th position, just clips the apron a little bit, brushes up the racetrack, very lucky there. He's having to check up and lose a little bit of momentum just as he was about to line up a pass on Mark Warmington in the number 17 Team Afterburn BFR racing machine. And Nico Brandt still on the wall as Dave Jinks trying to make a pass on him once again as he comes into turn 3. These drivers, it is very difficult to try and get alongside someone else. But once you do, it's trying to carry that momentum through a series of corners to get out front. But for these drivers, they're not giving up just yet, and we're only just on lap 20 of 200.
And meanwhile, Young O in the 26th position just scored his personal fastest lap of the race, 24.859, which is 0.04 of a second faster than the guys in front.
Once Tim Doyle and Young O close up to this pack, currently riding 25th and 26th respectively, just watch them carve through this field like a hot knife through butter. These two drivers are absolutely amazing. Young O obviously finished first, so Tim Doyle finished first in last year's iRacing Indianapolis 500, of Young O coming second. So these two drivers really know what it is to compete at the top level. Tim Doyle's been a numerous series champion. Young O racing for My3ID Gaming. Great racers. So look to see these guys really start charging in about 5 laps time.
Yeah, I've had the privilege of meeting Tim Doyle in person, and I have to say he has a driver's frame, not just the skills, but he definitely has a driver's frame to be competing in a real-life Indycar as well.
Out front, Yves Warner starting to put a lot of pressure on Jonathan Goch in the 08 machine, trying to get his lead back, but at the same time it doesn't look like he's forcing the issue too much. And this is what I was saying, Yves is very crafty a driver. So many races I've been with him, he will just sit behind, especially as we're in the middle of the fuel window, just sit behind, save a little bit of fuel, trying to eke out that tank for one more lap. And in all the times that I've seen him do it, he's always been able to make it work to his advantage.
Yeah, and excellent work from all the cars in the field. We have 26 cars in the field, and no one retiring, and full green at the moment, and 24th lap in the book. So these guys are really showing the skills with this car.
Battle for second position, Matthew Lambertson trying to charge down Yves Warner. It looks like he got his car inside but didn't have the momentum, had to check up a little bit in the middle of the corner. Looks as though that he's being helped along the way though by Ryan Norton working down the inside. And that's compromising his position a little bit, as he's going to let Mark Warmington, the number 17, get back around him.
Yeah, Ryan Norton just took Mark A. Warmington going into turn 1 there, and sorry, back sideways again. Mark Warmington took a 4th spot from Ryan Norton. So my scoring is completely upside down every time somebody goes past someone. So yeah, I have my hands full refreshing my score sheets. Sorry about that.
And meanwhile, that's bringing Andrew Aitken into the picture in 6th. He's passed Mike Larson to get that 6th position. John Hale still sticking with this bunch as well. But the top 8 have managed to break away by 1.2 seconds from Nico Brandt. He's recovered now back into the 9th position. He's leading the charge with down the end Giorgio Ponti and Dave Jinks, that 4-car tandem, trying to close back up to the lead pack. But as we're working lap 27 or 200, these guys are doing a sterling job of keeping it all on the racetrack, as Yves looking again on the inside, not being able to make it happen as they come out of 4.
Yeah, currently tracking down to number 11 and 28 car of Tim Doyle and Young O in the middle of 3 wide going into turns 3 and 4. Young O and Tim Doyle both diving in right in the middle of the pack and made up 2 places in 1 lap, and Shane Doherty, Jussi Nieminen and Karsten Borchers all having to surrender to this duo. These guys are flying 24.8s constantly.
Yeah, Tim Doyle's next victim will be Steve Clays in the number 13 machine in 19th position. And when you've got Tim Doyle hunting you down, you know it's one thing. When you get Tim Doyle and Young O hunting you down together, then those two really are going to be working any line possible to try and get around him. I see Tim Doyle looking down to the inside of turn number 2. The number 13 probably just going to let him ride this one out, knowing how fast Tim Doyle's caught him up. Just keeps it on the high side. Young O gets past as well. Almost came down a little bit there. Just tucks in right behind him. Very close there. Avoided contact though, did Steve Clays.
Yeah, excellent job from these three. And like you said, Young O is a nightmare for everyone on track if you're driving an IndyCar. This guy just dominated both sides in Road and Oval Series in the last IndyCar Premier Series. So this guy is capable of doing anything with this car.
Oh yeah, and Tim Doyle's next victim is Doyle Johnson in the number 90 Aero X machine. A little bit surprised by Doyle. He's had a tough day here today. Normally expect him to be a lot further up the pack in that Aero X number 90 car. But as you see, Tim Doyle just going to be working down the inside once again. And with Young O pushing him, that's going to allow these two to have a lot more advantage down on that low would otherwise get if it was just one car overtaking another.
What about engine heating up? We've seen the Impala's nationwide trucks that driving close to someone several laps in a row can cause engine blowups. What about the IndyCar? Having the same problems?
In the IndyCar, there's not really been that many engine blowups that I've heard of. The one thing you need to be aware of is in these cars, shifting is critical. You want to be shifting up at exactly 10,300 RPM, and when you're shifting down, you don't want to shift just a fraction too early, because although there is a limiter to stop you changing down too early, that is still a little bit of leeway there. And I have seen a few blown engines in the past with drivers just changing down a little bit too early, snapping a gear as they come down, and in these sort of races that could be disastrous.
So still following the Doyle pack tandem, we could use that term right here, because these guys are sticking into each other like glue. So currently fought their way, started in the pits, and currently 18th and 19th already made up 8 cars, adding to the fact that they had to catch the pack. So excellent start from these guys, and still we're going full green and 34 laps in the books.
Ryan Norton looking to the high side. He's been passed by Andrew Aitken in the number 27 machine. Aitken aimed to hold it down all the way to the bottom there, get himself a little bit squirrely. Ryan should be able to see if he can make the cutover, and he does look to the inside as he comes down into turn number 3. This is a battle for 5th and 6th position on the racetrack, but out front, Eves Warner is all over the back now. Jonathan Goke in the 08 machine, trying to look for a way past. And I tell you what, Eves knows he's got to try and make a move soon, because he's got the number 19 Boy Scouts machine of Matthew Lamberson right behind him.
Yeah, the 4-car train seems to be escaping from Andrew Aitken and Ryan Norton. Meanwhile, they're fighting for position 5 and 6, but that gives the 4-car train in front a little bit of breathing room, and that just might be all they need.
And for Mike Larson, I think Mike's just dropped back a little bit just to cruise. I mean, say this is a very long race. We're only on lap 37 of 200 still, and even though this race has gone green the entire way, I think Mike doesn't want to be in the thick of it out front. He wants to see how his car's working in traffic, get some information in his head, see if he needs to make some changes in this first round of pit stop, and then build up as we go along in this race.
Meanwhile, Tim Doyle Young O just found a black hole on the track, currently 18th and 19th, and chasing number 98 car of Robert Carlson, who is 17th, and Tim Doyle is having still 1.2 seconds gap to the Robert Carlson. So then there's a 5-car train where Robert Carlson is involved, 4-car train, and then you have 2.8 seconds to the pack next to the pack ahead of them. So it's probably gonna take at least a pit stop for these guys to catch in the top 10, but yeah, their pace so far is amazing.
Yeah, they've managed to gain at least 2.5 seconds on the leaders in just the last 15 laps alone. Tim Doyle and Young O are flying in the number 11 and number 28 machines respectively.
Meanwhile, somebody makes a dramatic error at the bottom groove of turn 4. I think it was Mark Warmington. Almost loses the control and right at the bottom, or was it Mark? I think it was.
Yeah, it was Mark Warmington, the number 17 machine. Just catches the seam a little bit as he moves from the second to the first groove. Somehow manages to save it, brings it down the apron, slows it down, He's lost himself all forms of momentum, but it looks as though he's going to be able to get away with that and live to fight another day.
Yeah, dropped down the way to 7th from 4th place, and now it's given 0.4 of a second gap between Andrew Aiken in the 4th position and Matthew Lambertson in 3rd place. So the top 3 cars
Mike
are
Larson coming down pit
separate.
lane. Mike Larson will be your first driver into pit lane at the end of lap number 41. And I did hear a couple of drivers talking before the race about how much fuel to take. I think Mike was expecting an early caution as he's braking. He's going to get himself potentially a black flag penalty there as well. He will get himself a black flag penalty in the number 72 machine. So early woes there for Mike Larson. But I know a couple of drivers are saying how much fuel we're going to take in this first run. Mike was probably hoping for an early caution and wanted to try and get track position after his qualifying effort. But for Mike at the moment, it looks like he's now going to be on the back foot for the rest of this race.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Tim Doyle, Young-O, who were in positions 18 and 19, catching 1.3 seconds. Now they're past the first car in that pack, so they already caught 1.3 seconds, managed to get past Julian and Pham, and now they're going after Robert Carlson, 2/10 gap separating those cars, and currently we're on board with Young-O.
So Mike Larson served his speeding penalty, make sure he doesn't speed again on the way out. Brings the car along this very tricky access apron, bringing it back onto the backstretch to rejoin the racetrack. But Mike Larson now is going to be classified as 1 lap down. I mean, he can get that lap back if he does decide, as Doyle Johnson's also into pit lane. He can get that lap back if he, one of those laps back even, if he does stay out on the first caution. But for Mike, now he's pretty much ruined his race as far as finishing the top 5 is concerned.
Yeah, but like we said, it's a long race and anything can happen. I mean, not sure if this series includes lucky dogs and waiver rounds, but yeah, I mean, 2 laps is a lot, but if we have several cautions, say with the right intervals, 2 laps is nothing.
Just to answer the question now, there is no Lucky Dog facility in the Afterburn IndyCar series. However, because it's single file restart, the drivers will not be sent to the rear of the field as you see in the NASCAR series. So these drivers can try and work to get over a period, a couple of cautions. So currently working lap 47 of 200 here at Homestead Miami Speedway, round 1 of the 2012 Afterburn IndyCar Series live on Glacier TV. Will Vincent and Yuri Backman in the booth, and so far we've been going green the entire way.
Tim Doyle and Young-O taking another 3 wide going between turns 3 and 4, again in the middle groove. One guy on the high side, one guy in the low line. These guys just use these guys as a slalom pole, for Christ's sake.
And that puts Tim Doyle into the 13th, Young-O respectively. And these guys really are on a charge after starting from the rear of this field. It does look as though they're ever so slightly worked up and they want to get back to the front of this race.
Yeah, they already lapped half the field. I mean, past half the field. They started 25th and 26th, and so like 10 to 15 second gap at the beginning of the race when they left from the pit lane, and now they're in the middle of the pack and chasing number I think it's 11 car.
22, yeah.
Yeah.
Just past Mark Thangman. That is the battle for 12, and both of them just sliding past Mark Thangman immediately. Mark Thangman, another new driver to this series, as Young-O having to keep it down on the inside, bringing it down to turn 1. Next up will be Giorgio Ponti in the 0-0 for these 2 drivers. But you give it another 15 laps, especially we're coming to a pit window, and I know how good these guys are in green flag pit stops as Nico Brandt enters pit lane. But these 2 drivers will likely be in the top 10 after this first round of pit stops is finished out. Ryan Wells into pit lane, by the way, as well as Nico Brandt, I believe.
Yeah, I was just about to say that Nico is losing a lot of places, so obviously he is diving in the pits and the speed limiter is on. And meanwhile, Dave Jinks, who dropped to 10th position like 10 laps ago, is back into 8th.
And Carson Botches into pit lane. Steve Clays into pit lane.
Yeah, lots of drivers starting to pit right now, and other than the couple of guys, Mike Larson and Doyle Johnson, who are 2 and 4 laps back, it seems like 6 cars have already commenced their first pit stops.
Yeah, so green flag pit stops here at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Looks like Andrew Aikens also joining these drivers on pit lane. And the last thing these guys are going to want is a caution in between them coming to pit lane. As Jonathan Goke into pit lane for his first scheduled pit stop from the lead. Yves Warner will retake that first position. But Jonathan Goke bringing 45 miles an hour, 8 Purple Fury Aero X machine. And we'll keep an eye on him and see where he feeds out back after this. A number of drivers in pit lane. Mark Warmington in pit lane, Julian Pham in pit lane.
Yeah, and for first time in 20 laps, it's given Tim Doyle and Young O an empty space on the track. Like they have 2 seconds gap to the top 3 cars now. Young O actually passed Tim Doyle right there in the last lap, and while pitting, they're actually back into 4th. And no, actually, Young O is being marked as your leader because
yeah, Young O,
everyone else
as they come down into pit lane. So Young O, to come down into pit lane, knew he wasn't going to make it, so he had to build back speed on the apron, on the go all the way around the racetrack again.
Yeah, that was an interesting. And yeah, Young O also in the pits. So it seems like everyone had a pretty similar pit window.
Yeah, Young O back down the lane again. He's going to be on the back foot. He's going to make his way through the field once again in that number 28 machine. Leads a lap, however. But meanwhile, green flag pit stops and 3 wide. You see there, Tim Doyle, Matthew Lambertson. I believe this could be the battle for the lead. And Tim Doyle, who started from the rear of this field, is he going to lead that lap? Barely there. The gap there between Tim Doyle and Matthew Lambertson is 0.3 of a second, but it looks like Young O, as he comes out of pit lane, is going to give the lead back to Jonathan Goke.
Yeah, Jonathan Goke in the 08 car has been marked as a leader by 3.7 seconds with Tim Doyle, so this is battle for his second position with Tim Doyle and Matthew Lambertson, the 11 and the 19 cars. And
Lambertson and Doyle have had some fantastic battles over the past year in the iRacing Official Series and Premier Series. Tim Doyle takes that second position, and now it'll be a case of him hunting down Jonathan Goke in the 08 Purple Fury Aero X machine.
And meanwhile, Young O, who just missed pit and had a slight accident, should we say, is back down to 13th position.
And 18 seconds behind the race lead, so he's going to have to do all that work all over again.
And this time without Doyle.
His running buddy.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how he works alone, but he's being, meanwhile, being attacked by Steve Clays in, this is the battle for 13th position, Young O and Steve Clays. And Young O now is going to be wanting a pit stop, a caution in the next couple of laps, but still, on lap 57, we've been green the entire way here at Homestead Miami Speedway.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that, especially after seeing that much crashing action in normal IndyCar series and ovals, and I'm surprised these guys are able to keep the insane pace that they're currently keeping and still keep it green.
And let's not forget, this isn't even one of the easiest tracks on the IndyCar series schedule. Caution is out.
Yeah.
I say that caution is out for the first time.
Maybe we should not. Maybe we should not call that out.
Just trying to have a look, see who that was, but it looks as though caution is out for the first time at the end of lap 59 at Homestead Miami Speedway.
Yeah, it's tough to spot exactly what happened. Tim Doyle brings the is the first one to get the session, the yellow flag, but tough to see who actually caused that.
Just having a look back through my replay. Oh, sorry, 2-car incident. John Ailes and Ryan Norton. Ryan Norton just getting touched on the back there by John Ailes. Looks as though Ryan got loose on the number 26 machine. Tried to save it and just got touched ever so slightly. Gets turned around. No further damage by the look of it, and great save even by Ryan.
Yeah, currently watching Ryan, the 26 car, in the picture right now, so see exactly what went on there.
So first caution of the race is Ryan Norton's going to come down and get himself 4 tyres and top off with Sunoco race gas. A couple of other drivers coming down pit road as well. Yves Warner, Tim Doyle is down in pit lane. Jonathan Goke in pit lane as well. So a couple of these drivers now, even though they've just pitted, wanting to top up and play the strategy card.
Yeah, I wonder if Ryan Norton actually took any damage from that, because it seemed like it's just a slight nod from the other car. Did a great job of slowing down the pace.
Yeah, he somehow managed to save it, keep it pointing straight and narrow and not hit the wall. But we'll have a look to see if he can get back out on racetrack. We're having a look now. 4 tyres for Norton. Looks as though he's surviving, getting away with that one. Pulls out of pit lane. His young O comes down pit lane as well.
Yeah, must have been no repairs, because that would be just 100% stupidity to just even consider leaving this car under caution with a wrecked car. I mean, anyone would just try to maximize their repair time, but no repairs for Ryan Norton. Lucky one.
So meanwhile, out front, it looks as though Mark Warmington is going to inherit the lead of this race.
Yep, first lap for number
Mark
19.
Warmington is 1 lap down. So Mark Warmington is 1 lap down.
That's Matthew
Julian
Lambertson.
Pham, Dave Jinks, GC Numanen, and Mark Warmington all 1 lap down, but they're going to get the wave around with 1 lap to go here. So look for them to come all the way around the racetrack. And for a couple of guys who were saying this is what they needed. However, for Mike Larson, it looks as though he might... so I'm just having a look. Yeah, he's managed to get himself back onto the lead lap because of that caution.
So currently running quickly through the top 10. Matthew Lambertson first place at the moment. John Ailes second. Nico Brandt third. Mark Fengman fourth. Giorgio Ponti fifth. Jason Wyatt sixth. Steve Clay seventh. Andrew Aitken now in eighth. Tim Doyle ninth. And Jonathan Goke filling up the top 10. And that was that incident that brought up the first caution of the race. That was inches away from not being a caution. So excellent job from both participants to just try to avoid the caution. I mean, that could have been wreck of the year if if there could have been just like, hey, I'm not gonna live for you. I'm just gonna try to dive in inside, and then if there would have been an impact, it could have been a major one.
Very, very clean racing by all these drivers. Currently working lap 61. And as I say, as we come around, I believe we'll get into 1 to go at this time by. Look for these 4 cars to get themselves back onto the lead lap. So I believe that will leave 3 cars 1 lap down, that of Kirsten Borchers, Robert Carlson and Shane Doherty. And Doyleton, currently riding in 26th, is still classified as 2 laps down.
And still all the cars, 26 cars, are still going at it. So no DNFs so far in this race.
No, as the cars come to get the wave around. 4 drivers being waved around the pace car. Julian Pham, Dave Jenks, UC Numanen and Mark Warmington. They'll be bringing it back round. And single file restarts here in the Afterburn IndyCar Series. So look for a little bit of strategy. You can not pass on the left before the start finish line. However, you can try and make a move on the outside lane. So look for a number of drivers to be hugging this wall, as you see John Ailes already is, as they come down the backstretch and lining themselves up as they come through turn 3.
Turn 3. I'm in the middle of the backstretch with the pace car. Now we're into turn 3. So currently completing lap 62 or 63, and you're watching Glacier TV live broadcast of the first race of the season of Team Afterburn IndyCar Series, and pace car is about to pull off and single file restart. Number 1 of the race is done,
green
and
flag.
we're green flag. An early getaway for the number 19 car.
Yeah, Matthew Lambertson times it perfectly there. He's going to manage to get himself a little bit of clean air. John Ailes closing him down. And a number of these drivers, after taking their pit stops, look for them to charge for the fields. Tim Doyle having to save it there. Currently in the 9th position, really having to save it as they come in through turn 2.
3 wide going into turn 3 right in front of Tim Doyle, and Tim is going to get an excellent advantage out of this one because the 2 cars have to lift off in order to avoid the walls. So Tim is trying at least to get a 1 spot there. Let's see if he's going to try the inside line. Takes the 2nd car over there. Now he's behind the draft of, I think it's Andrew Aitken in the 27 car. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to see now if he can pass Andrew Aiken. He got very loose behind him, a couple of laps to go. as they come down to turn 3 again. Tim Doyle really on the charge here. I've started from the back of this field after qualifying at the pole, now riding in the 8th position as they come across the line.
They're currently on board with Tim Doyle and is looking every single opportunity to just get by Andrew Aiken in the 27 car, the green car right in front of him, and not successful yet, but that was an early charge by Tim Doyle. I mean, while Young O started from I think it was 13th place and made his way up to 12th. See how Young O can match Tim Doyle in the early stages of the restart.
Great battle there between Young O and Yves Warner. Young working the outside line to perfection. It looks like he might be able to get clear of Yves Warner to come down the backstretch, and he does in the number 28 machine.
A beautiful overtaking by Young O, just takes 11th place from the outside line. That was one of the few outside line overtakings that we've seen today. One of the cars behind him gets very, very close to grazing the wall and out of turn number 4.
Ryan Norton going back, he's currently working in the 14th position, just being overtaken by Dan Lient. Had possibly a little bit of damage there that he wasn't suspecting in that number 26 afterburn machine, but he's having to try and work his way back through the field.
That currently made his way already up in the 10th position, as the next guy on his hit list is Jonathan Goke in the 08 machine with it's a 0.5 of a second between Young O and Jonathan Goke, so my guess is that it won't take long until he's already at back bumper. Already he's looking at the inside line over there.
And I tell you what, Jonathan Goke is no slouch. He's going to be pushing very hard, try and catch up to this pack of Hyatt, Aitken, Doyle and Ponte. Tim Doyle having really trying to work hard as Ponte. He's going to see if he can get down into the inside lines to come off turn 2. Gets the job done. Now he's going to have to keep it nice and low to come into turn 3. Textbook pass there by Tim Doyle. That is how you line a car up coming out of turn 2. Moves himself into the top 5 once again in this race.
Yeah, meanwhile, in the lead, Matthew Lambertson, still the number 19 car, chased up by Nico Brandt, who dropped way back into 12th position just shortly before the first caution of the day, and now Nico Brandt is up there in the 2nd place again. And actually lapping faster than Matthew Lambertson. Last lap was a 10th faster.
So Nico Brandt trying to close down Matthew Lambertson in the number 19 Boy Scouts of America Team Afterburn car. Nico Brandt's got Mark Fangman. I know those two are great competitors on the roadside in the IndyCar. They're still being hunted down by Tim Doyle. He's making a move now, trying to get down the inside of John Ailes. Does it again. Textbook maneuver, lap after lap there by Tim Doyle. Just working the way through the racetrack, and as the car ahead comes up towards the wall coming off turn 2, he just pokes his nose down inside, and another textbook pass.
Yeah, his car must be set up to perfection. I mean, he can do basically whatever he wishes to do at the moment in this race. Meanwhile, Young O still stuck to be in the 10th position. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tim Doyle and Young O, I know they work very closely. You saw on iRacing News just a couple of months ago their partnership when they worked together. Young O is charging through the field. He's now up into the 10th position, trying to work down Jason Hyatt as they come into turn number 1. But there's a lot of overtaking happening in the middle of this racetrack, and as you see, Andrew Aiken is coming under pressure from John Ailes in the number 14 Old Spice machine, trying to get down to the inside. Didn't manage to make it happen, and that's allowed all that has allowed John Goke to get himself around the 00 Giorgio Ponte, put himself into this 7th position.
Yeah, actually Andrew Aiken took the position away from John Ailes at the start of that lap. It went too wide into turn 1, and Aiken managed to steal that spot from John, and John was unable to capitalize right back.
Meanwhile, up front, Matthew Lambertson is still your leader by 0.2 of a second from Nico Brandt, as we have, I believe, our first retirement of the day in the number 67 of Ryan Wells. Nico Brandt currently second, Mark Fangman third, Tim Doyle up into the 4th position, Andrew Aiken in 5th, John Goke 6th, John Ailes 7th, Young O 8th, Giorgio Ponte 9th, and Jason Hyatt rounds out your top 10.
Young O, actually, while you were at it, coming out of turn 2, Young O took the 7th spot away from John Ailes, and is currently chasing Jonathan Goke for 6th position.
And still 20 cars on the lead lap, 2 cars 1 lap down, that of Robert Carlson and Shane Doherty. As the car comes out of pit lane, hold, make sure he gets himself nice and low on the racetrack. That is that of Carsten Borchers, making sure he's running very low. Cars around him going to have to check up a little bit though.
I mean, while looking at the leading pack, there's 3 cars going right in each other's bumper, go through turns 1 and 2. I think there's several. I think it's Tim Doyle, Nico Brandt, and is it Matthew Lamberson involved? Yeah, Mark Fangman, sorry.
Mark Fangman down on the inside, his fellow countryman Nico Brandt on the outside. And as this happens, those two are being able to block out Tim Doyle each time they go too wide. So Tim Doyle is going to have to look for a gap between these as they continue to fight for the second position. Tim Doyle again, let's see if he's going to do it one more time. Down the inside, gets it down to the lowest line possible. Gets himself down, not quite able to make it happen there on Nico Brandt. Nico's a very wily old fox in these cars. And we talked about him yesterday when he was racing in the TFR Super Cup at Spa. This guy can literally race anything.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's an amazing driver. A couple of races had with this guy, and he's fun to deal with in every meaning of the word. Still not able to close enough to make the pass on Nico Brandt, but still haunting, just watching every move he makes and to try to capitalize every single hole he leaves, and possibly could get a shot at the turn 1 right here.
Not quite close enough unless Nico gives him a bit of room, and it looks like he is going to do so. Tim Doyle down to the inside line, too wide to come off turn number 2. And you've got there Nico Brandt on the outside, Tim Doyle on the inside, and you see there Fangman countryman just coming up a little bit to help out his teammate. And now it looks like Tim Doyle is going to get the job done. He'll be up into 3rd position. It's a little bit wiggly off turn 4 though, cuts back in 3rd position.
Yeah, awesome driving by Tim Doyle here, and also from Nico Brandt, both giving each other just that extra inch of room to work over there, and that's a beautiful maneuver right there by Tim Doyle. Timed it to perfection this time.
That battle's allowed Aitken, O and Goke to close back up. Young O's taking 6th position from Jonathan Goke in that number 28 machine. The haunting orange and yellow car, sorry, red and yellow car with the flames on it. You can tell that's the Young O coming from miles away. Currently trying to work around Andrew Aitken, who himself is looking down to the inside, seeing if he can make a similar maneuver. But out at the same time, Tim Doyle's caution is out on the speedway. Does Tim Doyle manage to get 2nd position as he does?
Yeah, just as I was saying that now we have 7 cars fighting for the lead of this race, and now we all of a sudden we're going to have 20 plus cars fighting for the lead, because Pace Car is going to gather the group up once more.
And it was Robert Carlson in the number 98 Coca-Cola machine. Just gets it loose in turn number 1 on the seams again. We haven't talked about the seams much, but they are deadly at this racetrack. Gets it into the wall. It looks as though he's going to have to go down and see if he can get some repairs.
Yeah, currently watching exactly what went on to Robert Carson here. Currently riding or following Robert Carson right here in the number 98 machine.
So Carlson, it's like these seams we haven't talked about them much, but to understand for viewers who's not familiar with oval racing, when the track is laid, they lay it literally lane by lane as they go up the banking. And not only does this track have variable banking, but as you go across the seams on this racetrack, the car, if you get your right rear tyre especially just at the wrong spot, you just turn the car around on an instant as you go between the paving lines.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, cars coming down into pit lane, sorry.
Yeah, it's just about to say about the replay that that was a simple driver error. Just went slightly too high in the corner. Just tried to like maximize, keep his speed at the max, and just tried to save the car. Turn in slightly deeper, and rear end just snapped.
Race off pit road. To interrupt you, I think Tim Doyle, Matthew Lambertson. That was very close between them. I'm having to have a look back at the replay to see who got off pit road first. Very close, but I think Matthew Lambertson had Tim Doyle by just about half a car length there.
Yeah, I just managed to miss it there because I was following the totally different car in this 5th or 6th position, so I missed that Tim Doyle fight. Yeah, currently it seems like Tim Doyle is gonna be in 2nd position. Yep. Doesn't look as though
yeah, so Mike Larson, Shane Doherty and Doyle Johnson all stay out on this caution. So they're going to get laps back. That'll put Shane Doherty back onto the lead laps with 21 cars will end up on the lead lap of this race. Mike Larson will go back to being 1 lap down after his earlier incident on pit lane. And Doyle Johnson, he will also be 1 lap down in that Merlin Optics number 90 Aero X racing machine.
So currently, while we're in the second caution of the day, I'd like to welcome you. Just closing the midway point of the first race of the Team Afterburn IndyCar series at Homestead, Miami Homestead Speedway, and with you tonight are Jonny Beckman and Will Vincent. This is Glacier TV live broadcast of the Homestead race, and like I said, midway point approaching and 2 cautions, and pretty clean racing so far, and both cautions caused by a simple driver error, and no big mayhems, just small touches to the wall, nothing dramatic.
But at the same time, though, the racing here has been intense. And as series administrator for the Afterburn IndyCar series myself, coming into our second season, this is what we wanted. We had a very challenging first season with a number of drivers being really loyal to the series. And personally, I have to thank people like Rene Murray, Dave Jinks, Mark Warmington, Matt Lambertson, Yves Warner, Nico Bryant for sticking with it for our first challenging season. But round 1 and a number of new drivers have come into the series and all guns are blazing. Looks like a couple of drivers are trying to save a little bit of fuel on this caution. You see Matt Lambertson riding the clutch there in the number 19 currently leading this race, trying to eke out a tiniest amount of fuel. If they can save up to about 2 laps under this caution, so every little drop of fuel helps, especially if we do get another round of green flag pit stops later on.
Yeah, speaking of the amount of fuel, do you have the exact intel on the pit stop window here, and what's the maximum that these cars can push?
Pit window here is somewhere between 50 and 55 laps. That all depends on whether you're out front or in the draft, as you see the 3 cars getting the wave around. So fuel tank here, 2 gallons. Say a fuel tank will last you between 50 and 55 laps. So all these drivers are still going to have to make 2 pit stops in this race to make it towards the end. But the way it plays out in a moment, a number of strategy options could come into effect in the next 50 or so laps.
So 1 more mandatory pit stop still required.
2 more pit stops.
Sorry, my bad. Unless we have enough cautions to save enough fuel.
Yeah, but that I think will be rather on the unlikely side. And these drivers, they're used to running 110 laps at this race. In the iRacing Official Series, they run 110 laps up until last season when they increased it to 120. So all these drivers are used now, if you reset it, to running this type of race distance. So as the pace car pulls in, Matt Lambertson will bring the field back to green flag racing here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Tim Doyle in second. Didn't get a great restart there, Tim, but he's going to see whether he can hunt down Lambertson coming into turn number 1.
Meanwhile, Young O did get a blistering restart. He just flew right by Mark Fagland right after the start and finish line. Excellent, perfectly timed by Young O there. Steals 3rd position even before the turn 1 there.
John Goke now trying to have it down on the inside of Mark Fagland and 22 machine. Looks as though he's going to get down to the inside line. Hold it very close. That almost went down below the white line. And he could have spun that car around. He was just a couple of inches down to the left. But John Goke, and they always touch. They do touch.
Oh, they do touch.
2 cars into the wall there. Multi-car incident. Caution will be out. John Goke, Mark Fagland into the wall.
Yeah, that was the first caution of the day. That
and
was
I believe
caused by Rex. And more cars going onto the grass.
Julian Pham there in the number 78 machine. He has, I think he might have clipped. Yeah, he looks as though, as they were all checking up, Mark Warrington just clipped Jonathan Goke, and as Mark then had to try and slow down himself being involved in the wreck. Just having a look back to see what happened to Julian Pham. It looks as though he just clipped the side of Mark Warrington as Mark came back down on the racetrack. So 4 cars involved in our first multi-car wreck of the race. Caution out on the speedway, and these drivers, Julian Pham is going to see if he can bring it back down pit lane.
Yeah, that was the first one of the intense battles that we've had, where these guys just, a slight miscalculation, just clipped each other, and at that speed there's basically nothing you can do.
So two contenders in the race earlier on, Jonathan Goke and Mark Warmington, looks as though their day is going to be done. Julien Pham is seeing if he can get repairs to his race car. Meanwhile, I believe there's another car into pit lane. Yves Warner, I'm not sure if he was involved in that wreck as well. Going to have a look back to see whether he managed to get through or not, or whether he's just taking fuel.
So every time we got ourselves a caution, score sheet goes lunatic because of all the cars going in the pits and some people passing someone while they stayed on the track. So we have to wait one more full lap to get the fully completed score sheet in our hands. But I should be safe enough to say that Matthew Lamberton, meanwhile, is in the lead. Tim Doyle now is marked as a leader, and Yang O in second, and Drake in third, Nico Brandt fourth.
Oh no, it looked as though Matt just went to have one of his customary stop at the side of the racetrack and run to the toilet breaks.
Oh yeah. Now it gets fixed in the score sheets as well. So yeah, Matthew ahead of Tim Doyle, Yang O, but Tim Doyle and Yang O started the race way from behind the pack, missed the grid, and doesn't seem to bother those guys. As we're approaching the midway point of this race, and it was the third caution of the day, so 30 laps approximately per caution. So let's hope that it stays like it was the first 55 laps.
Yeah, it was great green flag racing. Unfortunately, cautions breed cautions, as it looks as though Tim Doyle is going to inherit the race lead. A couple of drivers came down pit road. Mike Larson came down pit road. He's coming down to top off yet again. Julien Pham came in to get his race car repaired. A couple of other drivers also down pit lane. We'll update you to see whether that was a strategic issue. A couple of these drivers, I think, just trying to get into position that if they do get a caution later on, they can stay out and try and get one of their laps back. And I do believe we are going to try and get Jonathan Goke into the booth. Jonathan Goke, very tough luck there. Just got a little bit tight, I believe, on the inside of turn number one with Mark Vankman on your inside.
Yep, that's true. Just washed up the track and took us both out.
Very unfortunate, because you'd had a really good race up until that point in the number 72 Purple Fury X machine, number 72, number 08 even. Doing really good race, led for a large number of laps and then dropped back a little bit afterwards.
Yeah, well, I took that opportunity to pit, so I just went ahead and pit, see if I can get fresh rubber and come up through there. Made it up to, I think, the top 5, then pitted again, and this happened. So I'm going to get back out there, maybe get my lap back and see what happens.
Well, good luck, buddy. Really unfortunate racing for you, and I hope that it goes a little bit better later on in the race for you.
Thanks, Will.
And a number of drivers making pit stops here under this caution, trying to eke out that fuel. Drivers are thinking now, they get one more caution, they'll be able to make it on one more stop to the end. So interesting strategy here, Goni.
Yeah, Tim Doyle and Yang O both decided to take that gamble. And Matthew Lamberton as well, it seems.
So Nico Brandt is now your leader. Jason Hyatt and the number 95 machine in the MTC Federal Credit Union car is in second. John Ailes third. Randy Cosno, haven't talked about him. He won the last race at Homestead. Green flag in the air. Nico Brandt leads the field back to green flag racing.
Yeah, Nico Brandt takes the flying start right there, a couple of tenths away immediately from Jason Wyatt in second place. And John Ailes follows another 0.6 of a second in third place. Meanwhile, the pack from 4th to 9th place is very much heating up.
Doyle looking to the inside of Ryan Norton. I know these two historically have their issues, but Doyle, very nice clean pass there on Ryan Norton. in the number 26 machine, moves himself back up into the 9th position. Eves Warner currently running in 7th. As you see, Randy Cosno coming all the way down the racetrack there from the outside to the inside lane. Whether or not he thought he was going to have to make a bit of a defensive maneuver on Rene Murray, I'm not sure, but it looks like he lost a little bit of momentum in him doing that. Meanwhile, Nico Brandt is trying to check out, but he's got Jason Hyatt all over his rear wing as they come back down into 1.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Justin Nieminen, who restarted in 7th place, is down to 12th position, and that helps Tim Doyle, Young O, who just again made himself in 8th and 10th position right now. I mean, Ryan Norton right between those guys.
Yeah, it looks as though Ryan Norton is still struggling. He's got Young O down on his inside. This is a battle for 9th position. Ryan Norton on your outside. He's still going to be classified as 9th as they go past the stripe. But Young O once again looking down towards the inside. Very close there. Young O down to the inside line, holding it nice. Ryan Norton giving him lots of room there on the outside lane. And that allows Matthew Lambertson in the number 19 to try and also get down along inside as they come down into turn number 3.
Yeah, both guys pushed very deep into the turn 1 as they went in there, and too wide, and luckily both gave each other enough room to just go high, slightly higher than usual, and just complete that pass.
Matthew Lambertson had to check out big time there. He was working down the inside lane and then all of a sudden just had to check up off the gas, and you saw him come up on the racetrack. Very well done by him to make sure he doesn't run into his teammate. But meanwhile, Dave Jinks under pressure from Yves Warner. He can't hold the car down the inside line either as they come through 3 and 4. He had to check up a little bit, lost himself a bit of momentum also. And now Tim Doyle, the famous out of turn 2 inside manoeuvre, trying to work on Yves Warner to come into turn 3. Tim Doyle just flies through there. Yves gives him lots of room, tucks in behind him. Tim Doyle really is on fire in this race.
Yeah, that's just unbelievable. It looks almost like he has these two guys, Tim Doyle and Young O, just had a completely different car compared to all the other guys, and it's like extra 100 horsepower. That's just insanely perfect driving from these two. Not a single wheel wrong at the moment, and just beautiful to watch.
So your top 5 at the moment, as we are now at the halfway point of round 1 of the Afterburn IndyCar Series live from Homestead Miami Speedway. Nico Brandt is your leader in the number 24 point machine. Jason Hyatt in 2nd, John Ailes in 3rd, Randy Cosno 4th, Rene Murray rounds up your top 5, but keep an eye on the 7th and 9th position, Tim Doyle and Young O. After starting this race in the pit lane, they've worked their way through the field now for the 3rd time, trying to get out to the front of this racetrack. And I do think that these drivers did do a big strategy ploy, knowing that one more caution at the right point would mean one more stop to the end.
Yeah, meanwhile, you can see Young O on board with Young O at the moment in 9th position, and had a good run out coming out of turn 2 right there in the previous lap, but just was not able to squeeze himself inside of turn 3, and just gave the guy in front a little bit of breathing room. But my guess will be that it's going to take 2 laps, and the Young O is right in the rear bumper, as we can see him closing very rapidly in the main straightaway.
Randy Cosno makes a move on the outside of John Ailes. That is for position. Currently battle for 3rd and 4th. And that's allowing Rene Murray to work this high line repeatedly. You've got Dave Jinks on the inside in that West USA car. And he's managed to take a position now away from Rene Murray as he tries to close down John Ailes in the Old Spice number 14 machine. But these drivers, they know that they're not in some ways always accustomed to being out front, and they're trying to make the most of the opportunity they have, try and see if they can lead some laps or even try and get the fastest lap of the race. Fastest lap does give you 2 bonus points in this series.
There's a very close racing going over here, and with John Ailes and Dave Jinks and Rene Murray, the 3-car pack at the inside, in the middle of the screen right now, the red, yellow, and black and white and red car, they're really going at it.
And at the same time, this is allowing Tim Doyle, Yves Warner, Young O, Ryan Norton to close back up to this pack. Meanwhile, out front, I believe Jason Hyatt has managed to get the lead from Nico Brandt, and Randy Cosno now trying to look down to the inside of Nico Brandt. It's coming to 1. Looks like he's going to see if he can try and get the job done. Let's not forget, Randy Cosno led 1 lap of the last race of the season at Michigan International Speedway, but that was lap 250 or 250, and he ended up winning the grand prize at the Team Afterburn Michigan 500.
Yeah, Tim lost a little bit of, Nico lost a little bit of ground there, coming very high out of turn number 2, but managed to keep it under control. Dropped down into third position, but still nothing lost for Nico here, and seems like they set up pit stops and really helped Nico's car because he was struggling in the beginning of the race.
For the lead, Randy Krosno in the number 4 Aero X machine. Looks like he's going to get the job done. Randy Krosno leads at the end of lap 107 here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Takes the lead from Jason Hyatt, and now he's going to see whether he can hold on. But at the same time, Nico Brandt is coming under all sorts of pressure from Rene Murray behind, working that inside line in the number 15 Peak machine.
Yeah, lots of action and trading places going on all over the track, and especially with the positions 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, those guys are constantly changing places. Tim Doyle made his way up into 6th position past Ryan Norton, and currently looking for 5th spot from John Ailes.
Tell you what, battles going on up and down the racetrack. Matthew Lambertson still working very hard to try and overtake Young O, having to work that inside line, being very cautious down there. You do have to check up a little bit as you go into the corner, so you don't brush up on the racetrack to the person on the outside. So Matthew Lambertson in the number 19 managed to take 10th position from Young O for the time being, but these drivers want to try and catch back up to the lead pack. But the top 11 have broken away. Andrew Aitken currently riding in 12th position in the number 27 machine. We saw him right in the thick of the action earlier, but he's now dropped back to just over 3.5 seconds off the lead pack.
Yeah, but a couple of laps ago we saw a dangerous, scary moment there for Tim Doyle, because Ryan Norton right in front of him took a dangerous line change right in the middle of the corner. He then very wide into turn 3, came down, cutting across Tim Doyle's racing line, who was about to get a good run on him coming to the main straightaway, and Tim Doyle was forced to lift just a fraction. But that was a scary moment right there. I mean, Ryan just cut deeply right in front of Tim Doyle. Meanwhile, Tim Doyle got very wide.
Ryan Norton's car looks like it's all over the place at the moment. We showed you how he had damage earlier on. He's riding in 6th position at the moment, but Tim Doyle had to check up yet again to avoid running into the back of him, and that's allowed, I believe, Dave Dinks to get past him to take what is now 6th position. Meanwhile, 3 wide almost from 2nd position. You have Rene Murray working down on the inside of Jason Hyatt. Hyatt trying to hold that outside lane to come back down into turn 3. Rene Murray, haven't talked about him much in this race, but he's now up into 3rd position. Randy Krosno in the meantime, while all this is happening ahead of him, behind him, just trying to eke out that gap.
Yeah, 0.4 of a second gap to Nico Brandt in 2nd position, and he's doing excellent. And obviously the pit stop sequence of pit stops improved his car as well, because Randy Krosno for the first 90 laps was basically somewhere in the dark zone, because we basically didn't talk about him at all.
Oh yeah, that's completely right. And you know, these drivers, you know, they are very dark courses. A lot of these drivers have specialty tracks, specialty moments, but Rene last season really working hard to improve. I know he's not been racing the Indycar for so very long, but he's doing a great job there in the number 15, and one of the best performances I've ever seen him do, and I really do hope that he holds on to it. And meanwhile, Matthew Lambertson looking to go down the inside of the number 14 Old Spice machine of John Ailes to come down to turn 1, currently working lap 116 of 200 here at Homestead Miami Speedway. 3 cautions so far. Last caution is a 4-car wreck involving Jonathan Goke, Mark Warrington, and also Julian Pham and another car.
Mark
I believe
Fangman.
that was, yeah, Mark Fangman, sorry. So 3 cautions so far. You're watching the last round 1 of the Afterburn Indycar Series at Homestead Miami Speedway. Yoni Backman and Wilbur sitting in the booth. Yoni, action still all over the place. As you see, Ryan Norton trying to work down the inside of Jason Hyatt.
Yeah, currently watching Tim Doyle and Young O, the duo just has been cooperating throughout this race, coming from way behind the pack of the pack. This currently running in 9th and 10th, chasing I think John Ailes right now. John Ailes dropped from 5th position down into 8th in a very short period of time.
Yeah, and it does show, if you lose your momentum in these large packs of drivers and you have to get stuck on the outside, get stuck on the inside line, these drivers can lose 3, 4, 5 positions in a matter of a lap or so.
So currently on board with Tim Doyle, just trying to make up that gap between him and John Ailes and find a way past him. And Young O is right behind Tim Doyle and probably doing everything he can to push Tim Doyle into more speed to just climb up positions, because that was very effective in the early stages of the race.
I'm not sure, but I think Tim Doyle might have got a little bit of front wing damage earlier on, when it looked as though he just tapped Ryan Norton a little bit as they went into turn number 2. Can't really see anything from my camera angle, but be interesting to see whether he reports anything back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Currently lapping 24.9s. Well, his best of the race being 24.75, so 2/10 off at the moment from his previous best, but we still have pretty good amount of fuel in the car.
Ryan Norton overtaking Rene Murray. This is a battle for 3rd position. At the same time, Nico Brandt looking to the inside, seeing if he can make a move, and Randy Cosno doesn't have the opportunity to do so this time. But Ryan Norton charging through this field now after having a bit of a, I wouldn't say dismal period, but laying back earlier in this race, just languishing around in the 11th and 12th positions. And I've got a feeling that might be what Tim Doyle and Young O are doing at the moment as well. As the car is going 3 wide once again ahead of them. Matthew Lambertson trying to find any gap possible. As Dave Jinks and Jason Hyatt working 2 wide as we come down to complete lap 122. Matt Lambertson trying to look for any position available. Dives down to the inside. And in some ways, I think he's almost hoping that he can just drift this car through the middle of these cars as they come off the corner. I know I've seen Matthew Lambertson many times making some very, very great overtaking manoeuvres. It really does look as though he's going to see if he can work the high side. If he can push Jason around Dave Jinks, it gives him the opportunity to do the same. But it doesn't look as though Lambertson's going to be able to do so. Still 2 wide. Jason Hyatt and Dave Jinks. This is a battle for 5th, 6th and 7th positions.
Yeah, very excellent fighting going on. But it does give the top 4 guys lots of breathing room right here. 0.6 of a second between them and fourth place car of Rene Murray.
Yeah, Dave Jinks managed to get the pass completed on Jason Hyatt. Now let's see whether Lambertson can try and take them one at a time. You can go 3 wide on this racetrack very easily, but at the same time, the amount of space you have to leave between the other cars, especially halfway through a run where the car on the bottom has the tendency to bosh up just a little bit, does make it very difficult for all these drivers to retain control.
What about the effect in the dirty area? If you just, as we saw Ryan Norton just going very, very close to the rear bumper of Nico Brandt there in a turn 3, is dirty air going to play in terms of oversteer for the car behind, or opposite way of understeer?
The cars, once they get, especially if they're tucked behind another car lap after lap, these drivers their race car is going to start getting incredibly tight. Randy Cosno out front, he is in the best position. However, the drivers have the opportunity to use a weight tracker. That's a mechanism in the car which they can use to help make the car looser by increasing it, or tighter by decreasing it. And they also have a front and a rear anti-roll bar as well. As you see, Nico, Ryan Norton right down the apron there. Somehow, I was just about to say, Nico looks like he's going to try and line himself up for a pass on Randy. Still doesn't manage to make it happen. It does look as though Nico's car is in very another driver as he pokes down to the inside. Still not happening.
That was an interesting choice of racing lines for Ryan Norton. They were coming onto turn 4. I wonder if he had a small issue there with something that just lost focus for a second, or what went on. But that was that was a scary moment, probably, because touching the apron or like that. Yeah,
I mean, as these drivers do go up on either the rear anti-roll bar or on the weight jacket to try and make their car a little bit looser, one of the most critical points on this racetrack is when you come off the banking at the exit of turn 4. And I've seen a number of drivers getting very loose there, and it almost looks as though Ryan was just trying to control it and got a little bit too much steering angle, but again managed to save it, and good job by him.
Yeah, currently Tim Doyle manages to take 8th position away from John Ailes. Young O still in 10th, but looking his way around John Ailes also, and quite shortly, I would say. I would if I had to take a guess, I would say that Yango is not going to stick behind him for long.
But these drivers keep on squabbling between them. That's allowing this pack to stay very close to each other. We've currently got 11 cars in the lead pack. Andrew Aitken, I told you about earlier, trying to close down that pack. He's managed to get the gap now down to 1.1 seconds, so a couple of laps. And 12 third positions also going to be gaining up to this pack. Meanwhile, down the end, you see Newman and Shane Doherty look as though they've just dropping back for the time being.
And meanwhile, Dave Jinks took 4th place away from Rene Murray right there and coming into turn 1.
Yeah, but at the same time, these three, again, as Jinks and Murray and Hayek continue to fight for position, this has allowed Crosno, Brandt and Norton to really start pulling away. Gap across the line is now 0.8 of a second. Meanwhile, Norton looking down to the inside of Nico Brandt. This is a battle for 2nd position. Ryan Norton doesn't manage to get the job done, however. He drops back into 3rd.
Yeah, meanwhile, the battle behind them for 4th, 5th and 6th was heating up as well, because Dave Jink just did everything he could to just take that position back from Rene Murray, but was unsuccessful at that time.
So to run through your top 5 before it changes again, Randy Crosno is currently your race leader. Nico Brandt 2nd, Ryan Norton 3rd, Rene Murray 4th, Dave Jinks is in 5th. And we are approaching that window for pit stops. I know Doyle Johnson will be one of the first drivers come back down into pit lane in the number 19 machine. You're going to keep an eye on him. I know he got himself a black flag speeding penalty earlier on. Doesn't want the same thing to happen to him again. And literally he is coasting. I think he's actually out of fuel. Yeah, so I think Doyle Johnson is out of fuel. I don't think he's going to be able to make it back to pit lane. He's going to have to get a little bit of a push.
Yeah, so I was just about to say that currently we're running on... sorry about that. Currently running on lap 135. So, like you said, 55 lap pit window at max. So 10 laps to go until if somebody is able to push that extra 10 laps from where we are at this point, then they should be able to go full green till the finish.
A number of issues for Doyle Johnson. Misses his pit box just a little bit there. And it looks as though he's going to go down yet another lap. I think he was literally out of fuel as he came into pit lane. Managed to just get one tiny last bit of gas out of that fuel tank. But more trouble for Doyle Johnson in the number 90.
Yeah, he drops 2 laps back right now, and 23rd position at the moment says the score sheet for him. That's a shame to happen. But it's always yourself to blame. I mean, the spotters are pretty good informing you about the amount of fuel you have, so...
Oh yeah, and the fuel tanks here, as I say, they can literally get every little last drop of the fuel tank out of them, but you do not want to be running out of fuel. It's such a big penalty to have to coast it around. And unless that you know that you've got, you can coast around and still make it to the end, then these drivers are going to have to make sure they get that fuel tank topped all the way up.
And Matthew Lamberton, 19 car ahead of Tim Dolan, who's in 7th position, went very wide in turns 3 and 4. And again, he goes very wide at 1 and 2, and Tim Dolan looking to capitalize on it.
Yep. Tim Doyle looking down towards the inside once again. Looks as though he's going to... Tim Doyle, I think, towards the end of that run, it looks as though his car's starting to get a little bit tight. I'm not sure whether he's using any of the in-car tools appropriate to him, but he is really starting to slow down a little bit, as you see there. John Goke working to try and get his lap back around him.
Yeah, it almost looked
Caution out, Andre. Caution is out, sorry.
Yeah, I was just about to say the young O is gonna look like he was having second guesses of whether I'm gonna keep pushing Tim or whether I'm gonna stick to the outside line with the other guy, because that looked like for a second the young O is gonna just ditch Tim Doyle to turn 1 and join the other guys. 2-car
incident involving Robert Carlson yet again in the number 98. I believe that you see Newman got onto the grass coming into pit lane, and once he got onto the grass he completely lose steering angle, absolutely nothing had done, and he just got clipped on the right hand side by Robert Carlson, who spins the car around, just thankfully out of harm's way by everyone, but caution out again here on the speedway.
Yeah, currently having a replay of what went on. We're currently following the 98 car of Robert Carlson, and yep, just Usually just comes just above the apron and nowhere for Robert Carson to go over there. If he would have dodged to the outside, he would have been in the outside wall.
Right, expect strategy to come into play now. These drivers, a number of them I expect them to come in now, and then come in again on the one when they get the one to go. So Randy Cosno brings the field down into pit lane. Nico Brandt right behind him. Jonathan Goke stays out on the racetrack. He's going to try and get himself a lap back, but we'll be looking to have a look to see who comes out of pit lane first.
Currently following Nico Brandt in the screens here. Let's see if we can catch the exit of the pits right. See if we can get a better view from the chopper cam. There we go. Nico Brandt exits the pits right now.
Randy Cosno wins the race off pit lane, just beating Nico off. Looks like Ryan Norton gets third, Matthew Lambertson fourth. Young O overtakes Tim Doyle as they come out of pit lane. Tim Doyle loses a couple positions there. I think Jason Hyatt manages to just beat him also.
Still have to wait one full lap to get the score sheet 100% reliable, but yeah, currently it shows actually it shows Shane Doherty in the number 60 car as a leader, but I don't think that's accurate. But every time we get a caution and the pace car gathers up everyone, the score sheet tends to have one full lap of showing whatever because of the cars going through the pit lane. So let's just wait one full laps and we get a clear top 10 of the racing situation right now.
So a couple of cars have stayed out. Mark Warmington comes down into pit lane, realises that he's not going to be able to make it to the end. I think there'll be two cars who will get the wave around this time by. That is Mike Larson in the number 72, Jonathan Goke in the number 19, so Mark Fanman, Doyle Johnson, Shane Doherty, all looks like they're going to be getting a wave around. But again, expect these drivers to keep them coming in and topping up as we get towards the one to go, as they might just about to be able to make it if they save a little bit of fuel. So fuel saving might start becoming an issue, Yoni.
Yeah, currently dealing with lap 143, so as you said, 145 would have been the pit window for everyone to make it safely, but yeah, it's gonna be fuel saving race, and whoever does it best, I think, will rise on top.
Looks as though Shane Doherty's going to come down to pit lane, realise that he's not got enough fuel left in his tank. I'm a little bit surprised that Randy and Nico don't go down pit lane. Ryan Norton does, however, go down pit lane. And this is where strategy might start coming into it. Yang O comes down pit lane. Tim Doyle follows him in. Andrew Aitken comes into pit lane. John Ailes into pit lane. Also, Giorgio Ponte. Yves Warner also down to pit lane. And I think these guys have realised that by topping off now, they might just be about to make it if they coast around the racetrack.
Is it possible that, for example, Young O and Tim Doyle, if they keep working as a pair like that, but like taking turns, so it's just save fuel, could that be an option?
It can be. You will have to try and start saving fuel from the drop of the green flag. I mean, I personally remember one race, strength and field race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, where I was about 2 laps short and I was trying to save all the way around the racetrack, and it's very difficult to save fuel here. You literally have to off the throttle. You can't, you know, just coast around in 6th gear or something. You have to literally off the throttle using that draft. But if they work together, it'll be interesting to see if they do come up with something.
So currently Shane Doherty drops back to 10th position as he visited the pits. Currently Randy Crosno, Nico Brandt, Matthew Lambertson, Rene Murray, David Jinks completing their top 5 cars with 444th lap right now.
Yep, we'll be completing lap 144 as we go back to green flag racing. So it'll be 56 laps to go here at Homestead. And that, as I say, the max fuel window that I know is about 55 laps. So I think these drivers are needing to save 2 laps of fuel, or we're looking for 1 caution, these guys who's topped up. Pace car is in. Randy Crosno will bring the field back to green flag racing here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Waiting just a little bit, bunching the field up. Goes now. Looks though Matt Lambertson looking down to the inside of Nico Brandt as immediately they come down to turn number 1. Yeah,
manages to nail that right. Nico Brandt just obviously just got confused of Randy Crosno's slowish start right there, because we'd throughout this race we've seen the leading car just pull off immediately upon the pace car exiting the race track surface. So I'm pretty sure that caught Nico by surprise there.
And Young and Tim Doyle both overtaking Dave Jinks there on that opening restart. So Dave Jinks currently running in the 7th position. Still a really good showing there by Dave Jinks in the number 76 machine. I know he's been working really hard for setup for this racetrack. And it does look as though Doyle and O are trying to close back down on this lead pack. And this is where you can save the most fuel. If you can get off the throttle, run 80% of throttle all the way around whilst you're in this lead pack, these guys might just be able to save enough. But they're going to have to really be looking at their fuel number as they go lap after lap. Meanwhile, you see there, down to the inside, Nico Brandt on the outside, Rene Murray on the inside, 4th position. Rene Murray looking to try and take 3rd. And at the same time, Matthew Lambertson looking so he's going to try and make a move for the lead. Not quite got the momentum off the final corner, but still looking so he's going to have another move as they come down into turn number 1. Matthew Lambertson down the inside, down on the inside. Looks like he's going to be able to possibly get the job done as they're going to turn 3. I know you've got a slow car ahead. That won't come into it just yet. But Matthew Lambertson will be your new race leader here at Homestead Miami Speedway as we complete lap 148 of 200.
Yeah, it looks like Randy Crosno is going to drop right down into 3rd position because, yeah, Rene Murray just takes the advantage of Matthew Lambertson's overtaking and just takes the 2nd place. All very close there between 2nd and 3rd place runners, just almost clipped each other coming out of the turn 2. It's a very different racing lines they decided to choose, and other one going very high exiting turn 2, and meanwhile the other tried to slingshot himself back to the inside line, and that was a scary moment.
Oh, Tim Doyle looking down towards the inside. Rene Murray doesn't quite see him, has to come back up the racetrack. Randy Crosno retook that 2nd position, a beautiful crossover as they come off turn 2. But meanwhile, Tim Doyle, Young O looking towards the inside of Rene Murray as they come into turn number 3. Tim Doyle, we've seen how fast he's been. He looks like he's going to be able to get the job done. But will he stay down low and help out his running buddy Young O as they come down the front stretch one more time? Lap 150 complete, 50 laps to go here at Homestead.
It's just about Tim Doyle tries to squeeze his way around into turn 1, but not quite succeeding yet. But yeah, Rene Murray just defended that line very well, but don't think he's going to be able to hold back Tim Doyle because he's on a charge right now.
I'll tell you what though, if I was Tim Doyle's crew chief, I'll be saying, save fuel, save fuel. Don't be racing for position this hard. You've still got to save yourself 2 laps of fuel in this race.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you that, is this the kind of fuel saving mode that you're used to seeing in this series, or?
We do have a number of fuel mileage races. These long races mean that strategy does often get thrown completely out the window. But it looks as though for Lambertson and Crosno, they're definitely looking for one more caution to have any chance of making it to the end. Meanwhile, Tim Doyle, I say 2 laps, I think the number he'd be looking for with Young O behind him. But at the same time, they think they've got the number to make it to the end. These guys will start charging. Matthew Lambertson coming up to lap Mike Larson in the number 72 Carlsberg machine. Mike Larson currently scored 1 lap down. He'll be going down a 2nd lap. Meanwhile, we're looking on board with Yang O as they come back into turn number 3. Looks as though Doyle is right on the bumper of Randy Crosno as they come out of turn number 4. Young O, it'll be interesting to see if these guys try and work the high side together, because you can make the path work on the high side. And let's not forget, Lambertson's got his teammate ahead of him, Mike Larson, even though he is 1 lap down.
Yeah, I believe that's exactly what these two did in the beginning of the race.
Oh, had to dive right down to the inside there, Tim Doyle, at the very last seconds to go down to turn 3. Tim Doyle working down that inside line, almost managing to get the pass done. Got Yango pushing him down that inside line. Randy Crosno held on the outside for 2nd position here.
Yeah, beautiful driving by Tim Doyle here. Yango just basically followed whatever Tim Doyle was doing, and Tim did a very, very, very good late maneuver there and made it stick.
So that shuffled Randy Crosno back into the 4th position. Rene Murray currently working in 5th. He's been hunted down by Nico Brandt, currently running in 6th. And I think Nico's still got a lot more in this tank as we are approaching the end of this race.
Has Young Oak potentially does he have a chance of finishing the race with running this fast, chasing Tim Doyle? I mean, he's chasing him all the time and not getting out of the draft, so he does save some fuel. But with this kind of speed, it's going to be enough.
It'll be interesting to see. They have changed the draft model since we last were here at Homestead. So whether drivers can save more fuel in the draft since they made these changes, that'll be really interesting to see. And it's very technical once you get into it. These drivers burn the most fuel between 9,800 revs and 10,100 revs. So if they can keep it above or below that level, that's when they save the most fuel. So these guys might be short shifting, might be long shifting just a little bit to make sure that they can try and eke out every last bit of fuel possible. As you see, Matthew Lambertson passing Mike Larson, put him another lap down, using his teammate a little bit there to get a little bit of a draft back so we can keep the lead as they come out of turn 2 again.
Yeah, my guess would be that if Tim Doyle is having any odds of finishing the race without an extra pit stop, he's going to have to stick behind Matthew Lambertson here and try to save fuel, because he's running out of fuel right now for sure. I mean, he's been doing all the work right now, climbing his way back up to the leading pack, and he got to be out of fuel without a pit stop if it continues to go like this.
And for Matthew Lambertson, if I'm correct, I do not believe that Lambertson pitted under that last caution at the end. I know Norton came down pit lane.
I mean, Matthew Lambertson's showing 4 pit stops, meanwhile Tim Doyle and Yang O showing 6 pit stops during this race. So, yeah, odds might be that Matthew did not pit.
So Lambertson will definitely be looking for one more caution if he has any hope. As you see him brushing up the racetrack, this is going to allow Tim Doyle to have a look down to the inside. Not quite doing it this time. It looks like he almost backed off a little bit.
Yeah, he backed
as
off
they came down the backstretch. Meanwhile, Randy Crosney down to the inside of Yang O as they come through turn 3 and 4. And Young now is going to be looking to the high side, seeing if he can keep that draft. And you can see, once you're on that outside line, this way you get the momentum back, because all the cars like to move to the high side as they come off the corners, and that's where the draft is.
Currently, Yango lost a little bit of ground to Tim Doyle there, 0.2 of a second to catch up, and just going to eat some more fuel from Yango's tank. But I think he's going to be attaching himself to Tim Doyle's rear end pretty soon again. They're not causing much, but just maybe a fraction too much.
Working lap 164 of 200 here at Homestead Miami Speedway, round 1 of the 2012 Afterburn IndyCar Series. Yoni Backman and Will Vincent in the booth, and for the lead, Tim Doyle down to the inside. Matthew Lambertson trying to pinch him down as much as possible, but it's not going to be to any avail. Tim Doyle is your new leader here, as we've got 36 laps to go here at Homestead.
Yeah, that was, it looked like to me, another very late maneuver going into turn 3, and Tim Doyle again makes it stick without any problems.
And Matthew Lambertson looking down to the inside again. These guys are going to go 2 wide racing again. It looks as though Lambertson's going to have the inside line to come down past the stripes. Doesn't look as though Lambertson's going to lead that lap, however, but he's going to have the inside line, tucks in behind. Very close between these two as they come down into 1. Lambertson now switching to the high side, seeing if he can get himself a bit of a draft as they go down the backstretch.
Yeah, that was as close as you can get, and my guess would be that these guys, spotters, were not sure if, whether they were clear or not, because Tim Doyle was thinking about diving into the very inside, just right beside the apron, and in the very last second he just decided to pull back up. So that must have been as close as you can get.
So with less than 35 laps to go here at Homestead, we are setting ourselves up for yet another Lambertson-Doyle battle. These guys race each other hard in the iRacing official series, in the BRR. So car in the wall. This is going to be interesting to see whether he can get off the racetrack. And that's Jonathan Goetz there in the number 08 machine into the wall. Caution will be out on the speedway.
And Jonathan Goetz just sticks right in the middle of the track, causes one car to just slams into each other in the turn 1. I'm not sure if who did what, but that was an insane crash.
I think Jonathan Goetz had no steering, trying to slow the car down. No, sorry, he's actually trying to get himself down towards the apron, I think, but that car just wasn't turning. And Shane Doherty, unfortunately, had nowhere to go after having a great race, bringing himself back into the 13th position. And for both these guys, their race is done.
They're currently on board with Jonathan Goke in the replay here, and coming turn 4. Yep, just for some reason just loses steering in the middle of turn 3 and 4 and goes to the wall. Tries to keep it over there, just keeps cranking it into the wall, but then tries to go out of the wall, and that was in my opinion that was the most stupid thing that you can do over there. And he just, cars flying right full throttle right beside you, and he just tried to pull himself from next to the wall to the inside groove, and it would have been actually better to just stick to the high side and wait for everyone to pass. Instead he just pulls right in front of people and just causes another guy to wreck himself.
Meanwhile, Tim Doyle comes down pit lane. I believe even though he had the fuel to the end, I think him and O are coming down to get tyres for this last round of green flag racing. And we saw Tim Doyle do this last season at Richmond. Unfortunately didn't have enough laps to get the job done, but this time he's got plenty of time to try and make a move back for the field. But himself and teammate Young O in the number 28 back onto the racetrack, giving the lead back to Matthew Lambertson. Randy Crosno will be in second position. Mike Larson, I think, was actually looking to see whether he could get one of his laps back by Crosno and Lambertson coming into pit lane. Doesn't look as though he'll be able to.
Yeah, so much for fuel conservation mode. Now it's flat out all the way to the finish, and no problem whatsoever for any car to making it to the checkered flag.
Couple of cars coming down pit lane. Mike Larson, Doyle Johnson and Mark Warmington. These guys are probably going to get tyres only. Top up maybe a little bit of Sunoco race gas, but these guys wanting fresh tyres for this last round of green flag racing, seeing if they can improve on their positions just a little bit. Mark Warmington currently showing 2 laps down, same as Doyle Johnson, so they're racing for 18th and 19th position. And Mike Larson is also in 17th position, also 2 laps down.
And currently Matthew Lambertson and
Oh, sorry, I believe that Mike Larson there just spins it in pit lane. I have no idea what happened there, but just as he tries getting on the brakes, he spins the car, and Mike Larson's going to be out the race. Number of cars down in pit lane then. Julian Pham, Doyle Johnson also down. John Ailes also coming down pit road. The guys who are lapped out all looking to try and take tyres at the very least, seeing if they can make anything up on this last set of laps.
You're currently watching Mike Larson driving into the pits, and it almost looks like his throttle just got jammed. I mean, he's on the speed limiter coming through the pits, and all of a sudden he just floors it and goes in the wall.
So whether or not he couldn't slow the car down or whatever, but his race is over. He will be classified out of the top 20 when all is said and done. A couple of retirements to update you about. Carson Borchers in the number 77, Ryan Wells were your first 2 retirements. Robert Carlson is still circulating on the racetrack, albeit 6 laps down. Jonathan Goke is out the race. Shane Doherty is also out. And so 4 retirements so far, but a couple of drivers now pinned 1 lap down with 13 cars still on the lead lap. I will be going back to flag racing next time by. Matt Lambertson will bring the field back to the green flag, and as we complete lap 172, cars currently rolling into turn 1.
We could have a quick while waiting the last lap under caution, we could just try to get a communication to Jonathan Koch, and let's see what happened over there.
John Goke, it's Will Vincent in the Glacier TV booth. You get a copy, buddy?
Seems not that busted his radio.
John Goke, one more time. Will Vincent in the Glacier TV booth. Come on, buddy. You got a copy there? Nope.
Yeah, it looks like his radio's down. Not surprised me though, that was a heavy impact.
So to run through one more time, we'll have 38 28 laps of green flag racing. Hopefully, once we go back to green flag racing, pace car going to pull in just a second. Matthew Lambertson, Randy Crosno, Tim Doyle, Young O, Nico Brand are your top 5. Watch out for Doyle and O as they have fresh tyres. Pace car is in. Matthew Lambertson brings the field back to green flag racing, and Young O getting all squirrely there as he tries to make a move, and Doyle as they go into turn number 1.
Yeah, this time no saving of tires from these guys. As you said, fresh tires with both Doyle and the O, and now it's time to go right at it. No more fuel, no more having to worry about fuel or anything.
You see that in the number 22 DH car, Mark Fangman. He's 1 lap down, but the way these single file restarts work, these drivers are entitled to keep their place on the racetrack to try and make up laps. So Mark Fangman elected to stay out, and these drivers have all been so equally paced, it's not that much of an issue here. I see Ryan Norton uses that to his advantage though. He's going to come down the inside, and Nico Brandt has to come down the backstretch. Nico's got the toe from his fellow countryman, but as they come into turn 3, Ryan Norton getting very loose again. Looks like he's going to get the job done, and now he's going to be the one who has to try and get around Mark Fangman.
Yeah, meanwhile Nico Brandt recovers himself and sticks his nose behind Ryan Norton, and now takes a very high line again, and there's number 15 car, William Murray, just trying to get inside of Nico Brandt.
Yeah, oh sorry, caution out again on the speedway. Caution is out, and that is Steve Clays just spinning it around. I believe that was a single car incident, just getting loose again on that seam in turn 1 between the first and second lane, just hitting the wall. So 1 more caution on the speedway, and is that caution 6 now of the race?
Yeah, I think it's pretty close. Yeah, I would say 6th.
So 6th caution of the day. Matthew Lambert will bring the field back underneath the control of the pace car. Tim Doyle 2nd, Yang O 3rd, Randy Cosno 4th, Andrew Aitken in 5th, Ryan Norton 6th, Nico Brandt 7th. He did manage to get control back from Rene Murray. You see Nico Brandt coming down pit lane. He's decided he wants some fresh tyres. He's one who stays out on the racetrack. He'll get himself a position. Jason Hyatt was 10th. He'll be promoted up into 9th. And then Dave Jinks at the end of this lap will complete your top 10.
Yeah, currently watching a replay of Steve Clay's incident there, and as you, again, just running slightly too fast through the turn, and it gave a couple of small shakes that the car was right in the limit, and Steve just refused to back off with the car, and then the rear end just snapped, and there's nothing you can do after that. But that was, I think it was 3rd time this race that we saw the back end snap from people and going into turn 1. That corner is much more tricky than it seems.
Oh yeah, and as I said earlier, there's two difficulties in that corner. As you move up the racetrack, you get more banking on the car. It's 18 degrees at the bottom, 20 degrees at the top. So you can set your race car to work perfectly well on the bottom, perfectly well at the top, but then in the middle of the track, you know, it's a little bit of a guessing game. And also, as I said before, when they paved these tracks, they do so in lanes. And I've seen most of the issues today have been as the car gets from either the first to the second or the third to the second lane, just getting their right rear tyre where it's not supposed to be. And unfortunately, they end up spinning it around and hitting the wall. But there's been some good saves at the same time, Yoni.
Yeah, tremendous saves a couple of times. Drivers have just went flat out too wide going into turns 3, 4, and just clipped the apron slightly, and the car just went. Car went nuts, and still these guys did an excellent job of keeping the car straight, and lost a lot of ground in the positions on track. But still, lots of guys with plenty of drivers. Or I would say majority of the drivers would not have saved those slides that these guys experienced.
So to reset it for you once again, Matthew Lambertson is your leader, Tim Dodd, Young O, 2nd and 3rd, Randy Cosno 4th, Andrew Aitken in 5th. And let's not forget, Doyle and O have fresh tyres over Matthew Lambertson. And it's not like in the NASCAR series, you know, you can get the advantage of fresh tyres throughout fuel run. Matthew Lambertson's probably had about 30 laps on his tyres now in comparison to the 10 for Doyle and O. And it did really seem early on in this race that when those two were on fresher rubber, they were pretty much unstoppable.
Yeah, that's an understatement. I mean, they were just like doing whatever they wished to do. and everyone else was just having to deal with it. By the way, just quick news on the whoever's joining just now for the CESES tape delay broadcast. We're slightly behind the schedule at the moment, but as soon as the Team Afterburn's IndyCar Series race is done, we will move to the CESES broadcast from Barber Motorsports Park for the Ford Mustangs and Mazda MX-5 Cup cars. So we'll be tuning in right after we finish the Team Afterburn IndyCar Series race.
And don't forget, next Saturday, round 6 of the TFR Super Cup will be taking place from Laguna Seca. The TFR Super Cup's been amazingly fast this season. One of the drivers, Nico Brandt, has had some astonishingly good drives in that series so far. He's currently riding in 12th, last guy on the lead lap after pitting on this final caution. But as I say, it keeps on surprising me, Nico Brandt. He was dominant on the road courses in this series last season. He's great in ovals. He's great when he's driving the Corvette. There's very few cars that this guy can't drive.
Yeah, I personally raced 4 GTs in the Proto GT series while Nico Brandt has been in the Corvettes, and yeah, he's fast whatever car he chooses to get into.
So once we go back green flag racing, there will be 21 laps to go here at Homestead Miami Speedway. You are watching live round 1 of the Afterburn IndyCar Series on Glacier TV. Will Vincent, Yoni Backman in the booth. As Matthew Lambertson moving into the high side, the strategic maneuver I was telling you about earlier on. You can overtake on the outside unless you're going to try and overtake the leader, but Matthew Lambertson wants nothing of it. He's going to control the field as they come back down. Green flag in the air.
And we're currently starting lap 180 from leader's point, so 21 more laps.
And this will be interesting to see now whether Tim Doyle and Young O can try and get the job done. How will Randy Crosno fare? He's currently sat in 4th position. He's going to come under all sorts of attack now from Andrew Aitken. Currently look to the inside as they come out of turn 3 and out front at the same time. Matthew Lambertson getting freight trained by the duo of Doyle and O as come to turn 1. Tim Doyle is your new leader. Yang O races up into the 2nd position.
Yeah, that was an excellent slingshot by Tim Doyle. He just went slightly wider into turn 3 as Matthew Lambertson did. Slingshotted himself right into the inside of coming out of turn 4. Nothing Matthew Lambertson could do to stop that one.
Randy Crosno started 4th on the restart. He's now down into the 6th position, having been overtaken by the number 26 Team Afterburn machine of Ryan Norton. He's now going to be coming under pressure from Yves One as he looks down to the inside as they come into turn number 1. Yves One is going to be looking for a last hurrah here. I say last year's season champion. He's going to want a better position than 7th. Meanwhile, out front, Tim Doyle and Young O trying to pull away from Matthew Lambertson, and it looks as though they really are trying to eke out that advantage they came across the line last time by, gap up to 5.5 tenths of a second.
Yeah, that last lap was full 2 tenths of a second faster than Matthew Lambertson, so this duo is simply flying.
Andrew Aitken trying to hunt down Lambertson now as they come into turn 3, about 2 car lengths behind him, but not out Ryan Norton. He's going to see now if he can come up to try and help his teammate Matthew Lambertson in the number 19, as Ryan Norton has caught the draft of Andrew Aitken.
And still in the lead, Yago just trying to find his way around the Tim Doyle, it seems right now. These guys are not teamworking up anymore. It seems Yang O is already trying to find his, measuring his overtaking spots from Tim Doyle.
Down to the inside, Andrew Aitken, 3rd position from Matthew Lambertson. Almost contact between those 2 drivers. Lambertson isn't going to give out the outside line just yet. He's going to see if he can try and pinch down Aitken as they go into 1. Doesn't manage to do so. Aitken manages to get away, and that allows Norton to come down to the inside. And this is the battle now for 4th and 5th positions.
Yeah, the very high line there for Matthew Lambertson just allowed both guys, at least Andrew, right past him, but shuts the door well enough to not letting Ryan Norton pass him. But yeah, I'd say that he's the slowest of these 3 right now.
15 laps to go here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Tim Doyle has pulled out the gap now with Young O to 1 second to Andrew Aitken, currently running in 3rd. Matthew Lambertson 4th. and Ryan Norton in 5th. Ryan Norton really trying to look, see if he can get past Matthew Lamberton, and that's allowing Yves Warner to catch up. You've got a 6-car breakaway out front. Ryan Murray currently running in 7th, coming under all sorts of pressure from Dave Ginn, because that's the battle for 7th and 8th. Meanwhile, Giorgio Ponti in 9th, just hanging back for the moment as Ryan Norton again looks to the inside. Looks like he's got the line as he comes into turn 3. Getting it very loose again, almost collecting his teammate Yves Warner behind. But Norton really does not like the inside line in turn 4.
Yeah, I was just about to say that his teammate is giving him an excellent push coming through turn 3 and 4, but like you said, Ryan Norton's car just doesn't like the exit of turn 4 in the inside lane. Just almost loses it and gives Matthew Lamberton a bit of breathing space.
That's the 4th time I've seen Norton do that.
Meanwhile, in the lead, the duo Doyle-O has pulled a 1.5 seconds to number third place car. That's insane. These guys are doing 24.6s, sorry about that.
Now, I know that these two are teammates, I know that these two are friends, but once we come to the last 5 laps here, I don't expect Jung O to be holding back. O and Doyle are very competitive people. Let's not forget in the iRacing Indianapolis 500 last year, this was the story. Tim Doyle in 1st, Jung O in 2nd, and Jung O wasn't holding back any punches. As you see Andrew Aitken now up into the 3rd position once again, overtaking Matthew Lamberton. He's dropped back into 5th, trying to work down on the inside of Ryan Norton, but Norton looks like he's just about to get clear into going to turn 3.
Yeah, much more clean maneuver this time by. No loose cars coming out of turn 4, it seems. Nope. So very clean maneuver this time by, and Yves Warner is also looking to the inside line, just not managing to do so for Matthew Lamberton, but Yves Warner is right in the mix as well, getting in the last 10 laps.
Battle also going on track between Rene Murray, Giorgio Ponti and Jason Hyatt. That is the battle for 8th, 9th and 10th on the racetrack. It looks as though Ponti's going to look down as they come past, gets himself past Rene Murray. Doyle Johnson and lap car also just into the mix a little bit. He's keeping out of the way, but it does look as though Murray is dropping back in the last stage of this race. But it'll be interesting to see if they can catch Dave Jinks, as we've got now 10 laps to go. So less than 10 here at the Homestead Miami Speedway as Tim Doyle comes to complete lap 192. Jung O looking to the inside. This is where they're going to start heating up. These two drivers now pulled out a 2.3 second lead, and now I think between these two it's go time.
Yeah, it's definitely go time, because currently on lap 193, so 7 laps to go. And these guys pulled insane speed with 2.2 seconds separating these Jung O and the 3rd place runner of Ryan Norton. And like you said, my personal guess would be the 4 to 3 laps to go. Jung O is going to make his move to the inside and stick right to the inside and just try to nail that pass and just block Tim Doyle from getting the inside line again after that.
Down to the inside, Yves Warner working on his teammate. Yves in the number 88, last year's overall series champion, trying to overtake Matthew Lamberton. This is the battle for 5th position. Yves Warner has clawed his way back through the field on these last couple of... Lamberton on ice looks as though he's struggling. Yves Warner is going to be classified with 5th, which will complete lap 194. And it looks as though Yves is going to make one last charge, try and get himself onto the podium. Meanwhile, out front, the gap is never more. Caution out on the speedway, sorry. Caution is out on the speedway, and that looks as though that will be perhaps the end of the race, or we might get one more lap.
I think it's going to be one more lap, because that was 195 that we got the caution out, so it will, my guess would be 199 will be the green flag. That would be 2-lap shootout.
Just having a look through the field, so it was Steve Clays again. Unfortunate incident by him. Looks as though he had a little bit of contact with Julian Pham. Come down, Julian Pham came up about a lane in turn 3, and at the same time, Steve Clays working on the outside line, came down a little bit at the same time, trying to pinch him down. Gets the car down onto the apron, spins it around. I'm not sure whether or not Danny Inch had a little bit of contact, but it looked as though Robert Carlson just manages to get his way around him.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for Steve Clays. I mean, not only having that small incident last time in the last caution, but now having to deal with the other one making an error and just clipping the apron and just slamming into the wall. That's an unfortunate thing to happen, especially after 195 laps.
But I tell you what, though, Yoni, these races, they are, full-length races are a large part as what they run in real life in car. And we're 1 hour and 49 minutes into this race now, and fatigue must be starting to set in for these drivers. Yes, it's oval racing, but unlike on road, you've got to be so line specific, lap after lap, managing your tyres, working in big packs of other drivers. I think a couple of these guys are starting to get a bit tired now.
Yeah, not only tired, but if you just if your bladder just starts to fill up and you're getting uncomfortable with sitting like 90 minutes plus in the seat and not having any chance at all of taking a break to get something to drink or visiting the bathroom real quick, and that is gonna pay off, and especially seen in endurance races, the small things can just pile up to be one major dilemma, and that's not a good thing if you're doing 300 plus kilometers an hour around ovals.
Looking to see whether we get the 2 to green or the 1 to green this time by. Tim Doyle is your leader. Young O currently running in 2nd position. Ryan Norton 3rd. Andrew Aitken 4th. Yves Warner in 5th. Matthew Lambertson in 6th position. Keeping an eye on that pace car as we come down. Lights are still on, so it looks as though we might get just a 1 lap shootout.
Yeah, it strongly looks like it, and what more? Well, I personally would have enjoyed seeing a 2 lap shootout, because then they would have had the chance to fully get up to speed and go 2 wides. But now it's up to whoever launches the best out of the line and manages to seal off the inside. And not that the inside line would be the only way around this track, but if you nail the inside just enough to prevent any cars from getting inside you, that's pretty much a done deal with 1 lap to go, unless you have an excellent launch from guys coming right behind you and they just cooperate around the outside group.
So the story of this race has been all the way around Tim Doyle and Young O. Tim Doyle and Young O did qualify on the front row, started from pit lane. We still need to know what reason why they did that. So it'll be interesting to see if we manage to talk to them. We'll bring the interview next week, because I know we've got to go straight over to the CES broadcast once we finish here. But Tim Doyle, Young O, starting in the back, moving away to the front numerous times. Ryan Norton, the number 26 team Afterburn machine, done a solid job getting himself back into 3rd. Andrew Aitken has been the dark horse of the race, being there or thereabout, but never really being on anyone's radar. He's one at a determined drive. Matthew Lambertson, disappointing in those last few laps. He did have to stay out. He did stay out, and I think that did cost him, as the lights are out on the pace car. We are indeed going to get a 1 lap shootout here. Dave Jinks solid so far in 7th. Giorgio Ponti in his first race in the series, currently riding in 8th. Jason Hyatt in 9th. And Rene Murray, I mean, he was so good about 20-30 laps ago. It does look as though, his tyres are just worn out.
Yeah, I mean, lots of different strategies all throughout the field, depending on the track position, and some luck with cautions and avoiding crashes or being in the crashes and grazing walls, and that's just something that some drivers just have to deal with. I mean, that luck factor is always always a factor in ovals, but not a big factor, but it's always there. As we get set for the 1 lap shootout.
Yeah, 1 lap shootout. Tim Doyle will bring the field back to green flag racing. We'll get the green and the white flag together. 1 lap to go here at Homestead Miami Speedway. You're watching at the closing stages of round 1 of the Afterburn IndyCar Series live on Glacier TV. And what a way to finish it. Tim Doyle, Young O are going to go ding dong for 1 more lap. Keep an eye out also on Ryan Norton, Andrew Aitken, Yves Warner, the battle for the top 5, as immediately Tim Doyle brings the field back to green flag racing, and it looks as though Andrew Aitken's going to be looking down to the inside. He's coming to turn number 1.
Yeah, it looks like Andrew Aitken is going to steal the third position away from Ryan Norton here. And he does.
And Yves Warner, we know he's going to want positions. He's going to be working, trying to get anything he can as they come into turn 3 and 4. Looks as though Tim Doyle is going to have an easy coast to the line. But at the same time, oh sorry, Yves Warner, I believe, had to run the apron there. 3 wide could come across the line. But Tim Doyle wins round 1 of the Afterburn IndyCar Series. Young O finishes 2nd. And I believe Andrew Aitken 3rd, Ryan Norton 4th, Yves Warner 5th, Matthew Lambertson 6th. Dave Jinks 7th, Giorgio Ponti 8th, Jason Hyatt 9th, Renaud Murray rounding out your top 10. 12 drivers finishing on the lead lap. Nico Brandt, Randy Krosno were 11th and 12th. A couple of determined drives by John Ailes and Julian Pham in 13th and 14th. On a lucky day for Mark Warmington, Doyle Johnson, they 15th and 16th. But a crazy finish there, Yoni. The battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th.
Indeed, and are you sure that Andrew Aiken got the 3rd place? Because in my score sheet it says Andrew Aiken is back in the 4th. But yeah, that was an insane race.
Just having a look. And as I think what tried happening there is Yves Warner and Ryan Norton just touched wheels a little bit. That made Yves Warner very loose and gets down onto the apron, managing to bring it back up. But it does look as though, yeah, Andrew Aiken does manage to take the 3rd position there from Ryan Norton.
Yeah, I'm rechecking right now, and I actually, yeah, the scoring showed Andrew Aiken in 3rd position, but sorry, in 4th position, but he's actually 3rd and 30.031 of a second apart from Ryan Norton. So yeah, Andrew Aiken is in 3rd, unlike the score sheet just showed us.
So we will try and bring you as much information as we can pre-race in our next broadcast, which will be coming to you live from Daytona International Speedway's road course. We're not that crazy to make them race on the oval themselves, but 78 laps on Daytona International Speedway on the roadside. We'll be bringing that to you next week, same time, 5 p.m. GMT, live on Glacier TV. You've been watching round 1 of the Afterburn Indycar Series. I have been Will Vinson. That has been Yoni Backman. Very good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening, and hope you enjoyed the broadcast.